Join me in painting some cute dogs. Let's start off with this cute French bulldog. January 2023 kicked off with a bunch of dog paintings. This was in part because I wanted to work on that cuter animal style of mine. And while I did paint a lot of cute animals during my Endangered Animals series in November 2022, I still didn't feel too confident in it, and I knew that I had more things to figure out. So there was only one plan of action: practice. The first thing I did was create some sketches of different dogs because I wanted to figure out how I could simplify and make these dogs look as cute as possible. Instead of focusing on just one dog, I ended up sketching a bunch of them, as I felt that this would get me a better idea of what this style would end up as. I think it's important to note that I worked on the Advent series before I started this one, and in those images I used a lot of colour outlines as that worked best for that topic and style. So something I wanted to explore was how I could incorporate that into these animal paintings. However, in the end I felt that it wasn't really working, so while there are some strong outlines at the beginning, I ended up colouring them. To colour the lines, I tend to either use clipping mask, which is a layer above the line layer, which will only colour in the areas of the layer below, i.e. the lines. Or it's even possible to set the line layer to alpha lock, which lets you paint within the area without adding new shapes or lines. Next up is a Dalmatian. The sketch for this dog was painted at the same time as the French bulldog. Instead of showing that process again, I found it best to skip to the painting bit. This also makes the process for this dog seem a lot shorter than it really was. But sketching multiple things at once, especially for a series, can be really helpful, as it's groundwork that you'll need regardless, not just for one image, but for multiple ones. Though creating multiple sketches doesn't mean that they'll all be usable, but at least they'll give you some direction for the images you want to create. If you have any questions about my process, please let me know in the comment section. Finally, there's the Old English Sheepdog. Unlike the previous two dogs, I actually hadn't thought of painting the sheepdog until later on. Therefore, the first part of this video is all about creating more sketches of this breed while, of course, looking at references. It might seem as though I picked these dogs at random, or to make sure that they would fit some kind of colour palette. But for this set of dog illustrations, I focused on different body shapes. I mean, you've got the tiny and compact Frenchie, then it's the long and slender Dalmatian, and finally, the big and shaggy Old English Sheepdog. This final dog was also picked because I knew I needed to figure out how to paint fur texture in this style, and why not pick a really shaggy dog for that? I had to paint this dog twice, as I felt the first version was far too textured and wasn't working with the two other dogs. I mean, it ended up being a totally different style than what I originally set out to create. This is again why I chose to paint this breed, as I knew I needed to figure out how the fur texture would work in this style. When experimenting with styles, it can be really easy to fall back into old patterns and styles that you used in the past, which is exactly what happened here. But instead of discarding the image and starting a new one, I just hid the layers and continued painting in the same file. But this time, I worked even harder to focus on simplification. The final dog looks so much better to me, and its style fits the series perfectly. Thank you so much for watching. More process videos are up on my YouTube channel, but you can also find more of my work on my website and on social media.